Have you ever imagined something so hard, so vividly, that it almost felt real? I mean, what if you could actually push that power of imagination to the next level? What if you could create a being, a phantom, right out of thin air, using nothing but your own concentrated thought? Well, today, that's exactly what we're diving into. We're exploring a concept that sits right on the wild edge of mysticism and psychology, the Tibetan practice of creating tulpas. Now, that is a pretty chilling warning, right? And it comes from someone who wasn't just a casual observer. Alexandra David Neal was this incredible French-Belgian explorer who, back in the early 20th century, spent more than a decade in Tibet. And get this, she didn't just hear stories about creating beings from the mind, she actually tried it herself. And the results were, well, they were startling and, frankly, pretty terrifying. So this is the big question we're tackling today. Is it really possible for a disciplined mind to create a thought form so powerful that it actually takes on a life of its own? We're going to follow the trail here, from these ancient monastic techniques all the way to modern-day brainwave scans, and just see what we can figure out. Okay, so to even start to wrap our heads around this, we have to begin with the first-hand account from Alexandra David Neal. Her record of what happened when she tried this is, without a doubt, one of the most detailed and influential reports we have from a Westerner.
First things first, let's get our key terms straight. A tulpa. It's essentially a thought form, a kind of magic, illusory creation. The whole belief is that with enough intense focus, this mental creation can graduate from just being an image in your head to an actual entity that can interact with the world around you and, supposedly, even be seen by other people.
What's so wild here is the progression. This wasn't some instant magic trick. It started as a disciplined mental exercise. She decided to visualize a friendly, jolly-looking monk. But over months of daily, hardcore focus, that vision started to become independent. It started following her around. Other people in her group would catch glimpses of it. And then its personality began to change, becoming sly, even malicious. Eventually, she realized she'd completely lost control and had to fight this psychic battle to dissolve the very thing she'd created. I know, David Neal's whole experience sounds pretty much unbelievable. So you're probably thinking, how on earth is something like that even possible? Well, according to the Tibetan master she learned from, this isn't magic like waving a wand. It's the result of an almost superhuman level of mental discipline. It's all about harnessing the raw, untapped power of the mind itself. So here's the theory behind it. Every single thought we have generates a kind of energy, which they call Sol. Now, for most of us, that energy is super scattered and weak, but a practitioner with intense, sustained concentration can learn to gather that energy and direct it, basically molding it into a stable, animated thought form, a tulpa. And this is a really, really crucial point. When we talk about visualization here, we're not just talking about picturing something in your head. The real training involves your entire sensory world. It's about building a complete multi-sensory reality in your mind. What does this being sound like? What do they smell like? What is the feeling of their presence when they enter a room? It's this total act of creation that gives the thought form its power and its life. Now, you don't get to this level of full sensory, world-building concentration just by, sitting quietly and counting your breaths. This is the result of very specific, very advanced meditative practices. These are at the absolute core of what's known as Vajrayana or Tantric Buddhism. The central practice is something called Yidam, or deity yoga. And that name can be a little misleading for us. Yidam literally translates to heart commitment. See, it's not about worshiping some external god. It's about committing your entire being to a system of practice that uses the form of an enlightened being as a kind of template for your own transformation. So think of it like a mental and emotional flight simulator. Let's say you want to develop boundless compassion. You would visualize yourself as Avalokiteshvara, the literal embodiment of compassion. You imagine thinking with that compassion, speaking with it, acting with it. You're basically practicing as if, using the full power of your imagination to build the neural and cognitive pathways for that state of being. You're training your mind to become it. Okay, I know. This might all sound incredibly esoteric, but here's where things get absolutely fascinating. Modern neuroscience can actually measure the unique brain states that are produced by these highly specific, imagination-driven practices. And let me tell you, this isn't just a state of relaxation. So, scientists got curious. They brought in these incredibly experienced practitioners and hooked them up to an EEG. First, they had them do a standard restful meditation. Then, at another time, they had them do that same meditation, but only after doing the intense, full sensory Yidam visualization practice. The question was simple: does this Yidam practice actually change the brain's baseline state?
And the results? Whoa. They were not subtle. Just look at this chart. The meditation that came after the Yidam practice showed this massive spike in high-frequency beta and gamma brainwaves. Now, these are the waves that are associated with intense focus, complex problem-solving, and peak mental performance, a state of high arousal, not deep rest. What this is telling us is that this kind of practice fires up the sympathetic nervous system, your fight-or-flight system, but it does it in a controlled, highly focused way. Scientists actually have a term for this: phasic alertness. It's a unique, energized state of mind that's fundamentally different from the calming, rest and digest state we see in most mindfulness studies. This is it. This is the neurophysiological signature of that intense, world-building concentration required to, theoretically, create a tulpa.
But the story doesn't end in the high-altitude monasteries of Tibet. Oh no. Thanks to Alexandra David Neal's book, the idea of the tulpa got out. And in the 21st century, it found a new, and I have to say, very unexpected home: the internet. And what a strange trip it's been. The idea first kind of bubbled up on 4chan's paranormal forum around 2009, but he truly went viral in 2012 among fans of the show My Little Pony, of all things. And from there, this dedicated online community of tulpamancers just blossomed, creating their own guides and their own methods completely separate from the original Buddhist context.
This comparison table really shows how the practice has been completely flipped on its head. In the original Tibetan tradition, a tulpa was a tool. It was a temporary creation designed to help a monk confront and overcome a specific attachment or fear. And then it was supposed to be dissolved. For modern tulpamancers, the goal is the complete opposite. They create tulpas for lifelong companionship, and they view them as distinct, individual people within a shared mind. The goal isn't detachment, it's connection. And that's really where this leaves us. We've seen that these incredibly specific, intense, imaginative practices can create unique, high-energy brain states that we can actually measure with our technology. We've seen how these same practices were used to create phantoms so vivid they seem to take on a life of their own. So it leaves us with this pretty profound question. If our inner world can be trained to produce such powerful, measurable effects on our own biology, what does that really say about the nature of consciousness? And where do you even begin to draw the line between a vivid thought and an independent reality?